Hello, my friend, and welcome to Wisdom Trek. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, your guide to wisdom and creating a living legacy. Thank you for joining us for our 3-day per week, 12 Minutes of Wisdom podcast. This is day 375 of our trek, and today is Motivation Monday. Every Monday on our trek, we will assist you to motivate yourself so that you can maximize your week in creating and living your legacy, which will positively impact your world. We are broadcasting from our studio at the Big House in Marietta, Ohio. During this past week, as I have been looking out the office windows, there are two noteworthy observations. First, our two young hawks are now out of their nest and testing their wings. While they are still a little unsteady, they are flying pretty well. They continue to preen their fluffy white down from their bodies, and the new dark feathers are now covering them quite well. The second observation is the damage to the trees from the cicada laying their eggs, and it is starting to manifest itself. Most of the time, the cicada will pierce the bark on the tips of new growth at the end of the tree limbs. As the eggs grow into grubs, it kills the tips of the limbs, which will eventually fall to the ground. While this does not have an impact on the large oak trees on our property in a significant way, I did experience the major damage that the 17-year locust caused our trees on our apple orchard while growing up. It had a major impact on the tree that took several years to recover from. Also this past weekend, we had the blessing of having 4 of our grandkids stay with us on Friday nights and Saturday, while Elizabeth and Nat went to see the musical Oklahoma at the newly renovated People's Bank Theater here in Marietta. During high school, I played the part of Little Jake in Oklahoma, thanks to my small stature. We also had the privilege of worshiping our Heavenly Father at church with my earthly dad on Father's Day, and also treated him to lunch at his favorite restaurant, the Cracker Barrel. It is a blessing and motivating to me to invest time with Dad. He has a very simplistic and enjoyable love for life. He has taught me so many lessons as part of his living legacy to me. It is now time to head on our trek for today as we consider some guidelines for motivation, so that motivation becomes a habit that's integrated into your daily life. Today and next Monday, we will explore a guide to motivation. Although it may not be obvious at first, the lack of motivation many times stems from fear. Fear that we'll fail, fear of not knowing how to proceed, fear of looking foolish, fear that we're not as good as someone else. And we start to see all the obstacles that are on our trail, and we are fearful to move forward because we're not sure how or if we can overcome these obstacles. I still suffer from some of these thoughts, and I do consider myself both optimistic and motivated most of the time. Some have called this the imposter syndrome, where we lack the motivation to move forward because we lack confidence. To stay motivated, you need to have a burning passion and desire to succeed, to reach your goals, regardless of the obstacles on your trail of life. Henry Ford put it this way: obstacles are those frightful things that you see when you take your eyes off your goal. You also need to have a plan in place to continue on, as Proverbs chapter 21 verse 5 tells us, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. One of the biggest challenges in meeting any goal, whether it is related to productivity, waking early, changing a habit, exercising, or just becoming happier, is finding the motivation to stick with it. If you can stick with your goal for long enough, then there is a chance it will become a habit. Once a habit is formed, then it becomes part of your normal routine for life. It just takes patience and persistence. Habitual motivation is the key, but creating motivation as a habit is not easy. As I have learned over the years, very few things in life are worth having if they are easily obtained. It just doesn't stick with us. What follows is a guide to motivation using what I've learned over the last few years in a series of successful accomplishments, goals, and habit changes. I have had many failures, but I've also had many successes, and I've learned a lot from all of them. Motivation has been a particularly important topic of exploration for me. So let's first look at what motivation can achieve. Keep in mind, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, motivation is always an inside job. In other words, you must motivate yourself through an internal drive. All external motivation is temporary at best and usually completely non-effective. Through this internal motivation, Paula and I have been able to achieve significant accomplishments over the past 37 years, from raising and homeschooling our 5 children, to starting and running our own businesses for 31 years, to being very active in church, and the major renovations to the Big House. Now, I do not say this to brag at all, because we do not have any special talents or abilities. We are quite ordinary, but we have set goals and objectives in our lives that were stronger than the obstacles that have fallen into our paths. Yes, we have failed in some areas, but we have just climbed over those boulders that blocked the trail and kept on going. With the proper internal motivation and consistent persistence, you can achieve what may seem impossible to others. So how does motivation work? Before we get into specific methods, it is useful to examine what motivation is, what it does, and how it works. Motivation is what drives us toward a goal, what keeps us going when things get tough, the reason you get up early to exercise or work late to finish a project. There are all kinds of motivations, of course, from positive to negative. Now, having a boss threaten to fire you is a motivation, and you'll likely work harder to complete a project with that kind of pressure. That type of motivation, though, only works until the threat has passed. I find that positive internal motivation works much better and lasts longer. If it's something you really want to do, you'll do a much better job than to avoid something that you don't want, such as being fired. Internal motivation provides a catalyst to drive you on, even when you don't necessarily want to or feel like it. There are many times, for example, when you may not feel like getting up early to exercise. In those times, you may seriously just want to sleep in. Now I find myself with those same feelings almost every morning. But if you have a reason that you want to get up early, something you desire strong enough, you will get up and pay the price now, so that you don't have to pay a much larger price later. You may be thinking, how do I instill this internal drive so that I can accomplish meaningful and significant goals and objectives? Well, here are some tips that might help you out. So let's look at the 8 tips to motivate yourself internally. I have found it important to start out with the right motivation because a good start can build momentum that will sustain you for a long period of time. If you start out with the correct mindset, you will have a much better chance of building that internal drive. And here are the tips if you're just starting out. The first tip is to start small. I've said it before, but that's because it's one of the most important tips in motivating yourself toward a goal. Don't start out big, start out with a ridiculously easy goal, and then grow from there. If you want to exercise, for example, you may be thinking that you have to do an intense workout 5 days a week. No, that's not true. Instead, do small, tiny, baby steps. Just start with 5 minutes of exercise. I know that sounds sort of wimpy, but it does work. Commit to 5 minutes of exercise per day for 1 week. You may want to do more, but just stick with 5 minutes. It's so easy that you cannot fail, and do it at the same time every day. As an example, start out with 2 crunches, 2 push-ups, and do some jogging or walking in place. Once you've done 5 minutes per day, increase it to 10 minutes and stick with that for a week. If you follow this plan, in a month, you'll be doing 20 to 30 minutes of exercise each day. Say you want to wake up early. Don't think about waking up at 5 a.m. Think about waking up 10 minutes earlier for a week. That's all. Once you've done that, wake up 10 minutes earlier the next week. Just take baby steps. Our second tip is choose one goal. Many people start out with too many goals at once and try to do too much, and it saps the energy and motivation. It is probably the most common mistake people make. You cannot maintain energy and focus, which are the 2 most important things in accomplishing a goal, if you're trying to do 2 or more goals at once. That may not be possible if you struggle to stay motivated. You have to choose one goal for now and focus on it completely. I know that's hard, as I observed many false starts with others. You can always do other goals when you've accomplished your one goal first. Tip number 3, examine your motivation. Know your reasons, or I like to say, know your whys. Give them some thought and write them down. Sometimes being motivated for those you love is more powerful than just doing it for yourself. But ultimately, you have to do it because you are internally convinced and for very good reasons. Tip number 4, you must have a strong desire. This is essentially the same as the above tip, but I want to emphasize it. It's not enough to think that it would be cool to achieve something in order to impress others. It has to be something that you're passionate about, something that drives you on, something that you desire deeply. Make sure that your goals meet these criteria, or you just won't stick with it very long. The 5th tip is to commit publicly. None of us like to look bad in front of others. We will go that extra mile to do something that we've said publicly. Form an accountability group and commit to your goal with family, friends, and associates, and then hold yourself accountable to them. Give progress updates to your accountability group every week. This will drive you on even when your motivation ebbs and flows. Tip number 6, get excited. Setting up an accountability group will start the excitement, but you will need to continue and stoke that fire. Learn about the benefits of completing this goal. Visualize the outcome. Create positive energy within yourself. Set up a reward system for completing the milestones and the overall goals, continuing the momentum going through each phase. The 7th tip is build anticipation. This will sound hard, and many people skip this step, but it really does work. Plan a definite start and projected end date. Mark it on your calendar. Get excited about that date. Make it the most important date on your short-term plan. And if you're just starting this journey of motivation, you can still use your Life Plan Blueprint program. Just choose one area of your life to start with. Complete that segmented plan so that it becomes concrete in your mind. Build anticipation during the planning process by increasing your focus and energy on your goal. And the eighth and final tip for today is print it out and post it up. Print out your daily and weekly goals and tasks. Reduce your daily and weekly goals to just a few words long, like a mantra, such as exercise 15 minutes daily, and post it on your wall or refrigerator. Post it at home and at work. Post it on your computer desktop. You want to have big reminders about your goal to keep your focus and keep your excitement going. That completes this segment of the Guide to Motivation Trail for today. Next Monday, we will continue on this trail as we explore ways to sustain motivation when you struggle. Our next trek will be Wisdom Wednesday as we dig for more nuggets of wisdom found in Proverbs chapter 12. So encourage your friends and family to join us and then come along with us on Wednesday for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. That will finish our trek for today. Just as you enjoy these doses of wisdom, we ask you to help us to grow Wisdom Trek by sharing it with your family and friends through email, Facebook, Twitter, or in person when you meet with them, and invite them to come along with us each day. If you'd like to listen to any of the past daily treks, they are available at wisdom-trek.com. And don't forget to subscribe to Wisdom Trek at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Play so that each trek is downloaded to you automatically. The journal for today's trek is available at wisdom-trek.com. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, but most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. This is Guthrie Chamberlain reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and then create a great day every day. See you on Wednesday.